Everyone, thanks for joining me for Where I'm From 58 with Sonya. I'm Allison Shelton, and I am currently reading. I literally just started it, Hysterical by Alyssa Bassist, um, and I love it so far. I'm blown away by it, in fact, and I have a feeling I'm only going to continue to be so. The introduction had so many quotable things in it that I will not quote to you right now because Sonya's here. So far, I'm really enjoying it. Hysterical. Um, Sonia, hey, it's your wall, but that's promising. It's a box. It's you sideways. We're getting
It's me
there.
sideways.
Uh
That's
huh.
kind of appropriate. Oh no.
Hey, it's you
I'll
right
just,
side up.
there we go.
Yes, you did it. See,
God, I'm so good with technology. It's like, I know
you
you
just
wish you were me.
aspirational. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Welcome. You made
thank you.
it. You
I
joined.
made it. I did.
I'm wearing a terry cloth sweatshirt because I felt like
Oh,
we are connected through our terry cloth clothing.
oh,
So
yeah.
I thought I would do that. How are you today?
Thank you. I'd wear the shorts, but it's the
Cold?
temperature's plummeting here in Minneapolis,
Yes.
so
Yes.
oh
It's
well.
about that time of year.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But I'm doing good.
Good. Do you
Yeah.
want to just read your poem, or would you like to say anything before you do that, or what would you like to do?
Might as well just read it. I think I'll just
Okay,
read it.
go
Let's just
for
get
it.
that out of the way.
Yeah, some people feel
Okay.
that way. Other people cannot begin. They just don't. They're not ready.
Just get it over with. No,
Hmm.
just kidding. All right, I'm gonna have to wear glasses for this.
They're nice.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
thought they were gonna be all cool aviator glasses like
Yes.
sunglasses.
Yes.
And then my husband was like, well, no, they're kind of like 70s if they don't have the
Yes,
tint
but
on
that's
them, you
back
know.
in style.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Why
mean,
not?
it's all back in style. I'm wearing a
Exactly.
terry cloth sweatshirt,
What
so
comes around goes around.
yeah,
All
that's all you need to
right.
know.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go with my 70s glasses. Okay. Sort of appropriate. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm from LSD, from brown rice and food stamps. I'm from multifamily housing, transitory, minimalist, smelling of musty cardboard furniture. I'm from Antirrhinum majus, snapdragons, Salix babylonica, weeping willow, flexible branches reaching for wherever the breeze takes them. I'm from Scrabble with the OED in reach, but too small to reach the petals. From Ada Priscilla and McGill. I'm from staunch environmentalism and toxic positivity. From Be Careful What You Wish For and Judge Not. I'm from Krishnamurti, Christian Science, Karma, and the Spiritual Bypass. From Buddhism, The Golden Rule, and Peace. I'm from everywhere but nowhere, really. Sort of New Mexico, somewhat California, via Canada by way of Glasgow, buckwheat waffles, and cheap beer. From the braces my maternal grandfather wore on his legs as a child, the mental darkness my paternal grandmother bore in her life. Disintegrating in storage are objects neglected by a lineage that prefers science over sentimentality. They are, I am, we are, on our own.
Yay! You did
Did
it.
it.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Strong statement starting out with LSD.
So I am one of those people who was conceived during the summer of love.
Oh yeah.
In San Francisco, my mom actually
Wow.
lived on Haight Street,
Hmm.
and my dad lived in the same apartment complex, and he'd moved away, but he came to visit a friend, and apparently knocked on my mom's door.
Yeah.
And that was the one and only time they hooked up, and here I am.
Really?
Really. And
I
my mom
have
was even she was
I have
actually even dating someone else at the
she
time.
was, but she knew that you were his.
Uh I can't because I was white and not black, she knew that I
Okay.
was his.
That helps. Um, and I'm always amazed these stories exist that people had sex one time and had a child,
Yeah, I know,
because
right?
it's a really popular narrative device. particularly in
Yeah.
older novels, like,
Yeah.
oh, one time, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
really?
Really?
But it happened. It happened
So,
to you.
it- in all fairness, like I can't, like I wouldn't bet my life on it, but
Mhm.
that's what I've been told. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure. I mean, that's what I've been told by both parties. So
Yeah, no,
that
I
makes
mean,
it pretty certain, not
yeah.
100%.
Wow. So you're kind of like a picture postcard baby of the hate in the
Yes.
summer of love.
Some of love. Yeah.
Wow. That's, yeah, sorry. That's that brings the conjures already, just that conjures so many like thoughts and um experiences. And so I said we had some overlap, but it's more with the sort of spiritual bypassing, Krishnamurti karma, those sort of things. And were you, so since you were a child that was conceived from just, a fling, did you know both your parents growing up? Was it contentious? Was it cool? Was it?
Um, yeah, it was totally fine. They sort of talked about whether or not they should get together, and they did toy
Yeah.
with the idea, but I'm so glad they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They would have never, they do not communicate well. Very different people with some things in common, but,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so I didn't actually meet my dad until I was 3 years old. We were passing through Berkeley where he was living with his then wife
Mm-hmm.
and my very young infant, tiny baby half sister. And then I didn't see him again. I think it was my stepmother's idea actually to bring my sister to Denver, where I was then living with my mom, to meet and see if maybe we should kind of,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I should be more involved. She was like,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like you should know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So for a few summers, then I spent the summer with my dad and his family,
Mm-hmm.
and then in after the summer before sixth grade, my mom had moved us to the edge of town, and I was like, I can't do this. I want to go back. I want to, I want to go to something just a little bit more stable for the school year, and I wanted to be part of a family. It was just me and my
Mm-hmm.
mom otherwise, and very intense.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so I lived with them for one school year, but then my dad and stepmom were they were struggling a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad was about to slip into addiction, and they were also very poor, and I didn't see my dad again for, I don't know, maybe a decade at least.
Oh,
So he's not a father figure at all to me whatsoever.
it's interesting
Um,
how that happens. I think there's such a belief that just if we share DNA, we're somehow imprinted on each
not.
other, but I have not found that to be the
No.
case.
Me
It's not,
either.
yeah, it's not a given. And it's
No.
interesting too, you talking about the structure of your family. I feel like that time, like 69, was the first time that people were, or close to the first time that people would not be just hiding all of that.
Yeah.
Like that you had a half sibling, that
Yeah.
so it's really new territory to navigate. There were
Yeah.
no role models. It was all
Right.
just like, okay, well, we're not going to lie about it, which would have
Yeah.
been the modeling up to that point.
Yeah. That
And
was
so it's new.
let me say one thing. Did I say summer of 69? The summer of love was
Oh,
67.
sorry,
Did you?
I
Okay, because
missed because I was not conceived in the summer of love, so I
okay.
don't know what year it was.
I
Apparently, it was
I
the
did,
summer of 67. I didn't know
yeah.
that.
And then I was born in 68. Yeah.
I so associate. Okay, well, thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah,
teaching
yeah.
me something today.
I was I wouldn't be surprised if I had said it either, because that,
No, I
yeah, it was
100% said it. I was
okay, okay.
new.
Okay. But yeah, that's like even when I was born, my mom was encouraged to give me up because she was a
Sure,
single woman,
sure.
and she was like, "Nah, I'm gonna hold on to her."
And she's going to ruin
Um,
her life, right? I mean, that still was sort of the way
yeah,
people were talking and thinking,
yes,
like
yes, yes,
that.
because people were gonna think poorly of her,
Yes,
like
yes,
think all sorts of things of her,
yes.
right?
Hmm.
But but I don't remember her. She said like my aunt's husband, so my uncle, but my aunt is the one by blood.
Hmm.
His mom apparently, no, he gave her a hard time. My uncle gave my mom a hard time, but his mom told him that's not cool. So she had people sticking up for her, and I don't
Oh,
remember.
that's
Like as
nice.
a kid, I didn't want to talk about like people were like, are you parents like why don't you have a dad? Are your parents divorced? What do you
Hmm.
have any? I really got very worn out by trying to answer all these questions that just weren't gonna serve me. I was like, shoot, I
Yeah.
don't have an answer that's gonna help me with my social life.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna be like the odd. So it was a little bit of a struggle, but
I think those
whatever.
questions in general are still uncomfortable for lots of
Yeah,
kids and families because,
yeah.
their default is that it's some kind of heteronormative, like nuclear family, and that's just not the case
These
anymore.
days, yeah,
And it
no.
really wasn't then either. It was kind of a myth,
No, to be
you know?
honest. Right? We're
Yeah.
finding out, like now
Yeah.
that, especially with DNA testing and everything, it's like,
Oh my God.
mm,
Yes. I have more
ooh,
than one friend who's
me
gotten
too.
yeah. Um, and I did not have a story like yours, but I had a complicated story. And I also always found that question like, ah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you answer the question and they're like, oh,
You know what I found? If I did not answer the question, they would answer it for me. And I'd be like,
interesting.
uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, that's
They're like, are
interesting.
your parents are divorced, right? And I'd be like, uh-huh.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, they're not together. So,
Yeah, I'm just gonna
um,
find out. Because they were never married, yeah, obviously.
right, which is also I think a lot more people than I think a lot of people did that and continue to
Yeah,
do that. Like, oh
yeah,
yeah, sure, divorce. Does
yeah.
that make you feel better? Great. Um,
Right. Exactly.
okay then.
Yeah.
So what I want to know what the experience was like writing this poem, but I also don't want to forget to ask about your photo because
Okay.
it's really such a. Do you want to tell me that first, or do you want to tell me what it was like writing the poem first?
I'll tell you the poem first, and
Okay.
then the photo's a little, I don't know, maybe more fun. So the poem is the poem was really interesting because at the time I initially wrote it, I had just completed a rewrite of my memoir,
Yeah.
and so I felt like I needed to include the same stuff in the poem as I had in the memoir.
Hmm.
But and it was okay the first time, but I waited, a significant amount of time. I only started fiddling with it a couple weeks ago, and I think maybe that was about 2 months ago that I had finished up the memoir. So, um,
Which, yay,
yay! I know.
Sonya.
Like I'm sure it still has a little work to do, but I'm
But
ready
it's
for
amazing.
an agent to find an editor to help me with
Yeah,
that.
no,
I'm definitely
big congrats.
Oh, yeah, it was blood, sweat, and lots of tears, but some laughter too. I don't mean it's
Hmm.
not all bad by any means, but just hard to get through.
How long did it
Um,
take you, as a side note,
oh,
as
geez,
research?
so long because um I want to say I started it. I wrote an autobiographical paper for a class I took in college. I
Oh,
took a
wow.
class that was about writing autobiography, and that was the assignment was to write your autobiography.
Oh,
And
wow.
I did, but at the time I wrote it in my mother's voice. I did
Mm-hmm.
not use my own voice. I used my mother's
Hmm.
voice. I interviewed her. She made sure that it was her way of telling the story. And so that was interesting. It was fun to do the research and that sort of stuff. But so then that was it for a while. I did other stuff aside from writing. And then uh, let's see, I dabbled in chapters, but it was going to be a different kind of book. And then in about 2013, I realized I needed to finish the memoir. I needed it to be a memoir as opposed to the other idea had much more to do with writing about sports and stuff.
Hmm.
So it kind of took me since, I mean, almost like 9 years almost.
Wow, that's huge then.
But
I mean, it's an accomplishment regardless of how long it took, but
yeah,
I think like sort of
a lot happened in that.
completing something that has been on
Yeah,
your brain, even if you haven't been actively engaging in it, I still
yeah,
feel like that's
yeah,
opening up a huge part of your
yeah,
brain
yeah.
for
And
other things.
I couldn't have, I mean, it's a totally different thing that it was going to be. First, it was going to be, like I said, a lot about sports. And then it was going to be, I wasn't, so full disclosure, I um, say that I believe my mom has narcissist personality disorder
Hmm.
in the memoir. And
Hmm.
I didn't know that about her. I've been through therapy and everything, but And I got a lot of, things like parentification, things like that,
Yeah.
but not NPD until she moved cross country, and that experience, the demand that placed on me
Hmm.
forced me to start grasping for help. And I found someone who told me, you need to look this up. And if this
Hmm.
is what you think is right, you need to find a therapist who specializes this and get on it. And that was only maybe 4 or 5 years ago, max.
Don't you feel
So
like it's
that's,
out so much? I feel like it's so much more commonly spoken about now. I
yeah,
think Trump did us that
yes,
service
yes, yes, yes.
where we had a
Absolutely.
malignant
I was very
narcissist in
much aware of
chief.
that. Yep,
It's like,
yep,
oh,
yeah,
okay. This sort of
yeah,
denial of reality, I think having that writ large was obviously incredibly triggering for all
yes,
of us
absolutely.
too.
Hugely triggering.
But it
I
was
was,
like, oh,
yeah,
okay. This is
yeah,
very, for many of us, very familiar.
yes, yeah, yeah. And so then when I went back to the poem a couple weeks ago, I let it be a little bit more almost autobiographical as opposed to memoirish, right? So
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, if like where I'm from, I'm talking about my parents, my grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
and it forced me to to, I think it made it so much better to
I love
just,
the Latin names of the, speaking of autobiographical, that to me feels very autobiographical. The
yeah,
Latin names of the flowers. I was like, oh, that's
my
such a,
my grandfather was a botanist,
I figured
like
someone
a,
was.
yeah, like a
If
big
you were,
time.
yeah.
He was like high up in his field, botanist.
Mm.
And so my mom, as is often the case, she did not have a good relationship with him at all. And so I um, didn't, necessarily appreciate that so much.
Hmm.
Although the snapdragons and the weeping willow were the things that was like my attempt at pretending to him that maybe I had an interest. It's like, oh, what's that called? That's my favorite kind of tree, which it really is, and
Yeah.
stuff. But anyway, yeah.
So
Uh,
you came at it more autobiographically. You feel like when you came to it a couple weeks ago.
it gave me, instead of being in the depths of kind of the memoir
Mm-hmm.
intensity, I could
Mm-hmm.
broaden into like, but really, where are you from though?
Mm-hmm.
And it made it more fun, made it much more fun to me
Mm-hmm.
it made me a little bit more objective.
Mm-hmm.
I could step away from it a little bit and just appreciate. I'm actually watching a weeping willow do that thing out my window,
It's very
but
cool. I do not live in a part of the country that has that. And whenever
yeah,
I see them, I'm like, oh, because they
they're
feel
so
like
cool.
animated,
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
exactly, exactly.
okay.
And the wherever the wind or the breeze, whatever takes them, that's because I moved all over the place throughout my
Mm-hmm.
childhood and stuff. But yeah, I really enjoyed the second go round with
It's
writing.
interesting how many different perspectives that you can take with something that feels quite simple. I think that's the joy of a container, is
Yeah,
that you feel safe enough to kind of experiment. Where when it's
yeah,
just a blank page, it's kind of like it's a
yeah,
big lift to get
yeah,
experimental, I think.
yeah, yeah. It's like it has a lot of room for creativity,
Hmm.
but it's directed creativity, which I kind of need. I'm the kind of person who wants a template really badly.
I know, right? If they could just have
Yeah.
one for a memoir, then that would make it a lot
Oh
easier.
yeah. I'd have
Just
nailed it.
just tell me to fill in, and I will do it. Um,
Exactly.
so the picture is
Yeah.
amazing. I feel like I should bring it up here, but you can also look at my grid. But it's it's cute, but it's also dark,
It's also what?
a
Oh,
bit
dark.
dark, like a bit, like you're like, what's happening with these like baby dolls? And here is Sonia's picture. It's her with my ring light with these two baby dolls who have
Who
no.
are disheveled to say the least.
Yes, right. They're stripped down
Yeah.
baby dolls. I
And the
mean,
hair. So
yeah.
I have a funny story. The doll that has the hair sticking up,
Hmm.
I got that one when I was probably about 2. In that picture, I'm about 4.
Hmm.
And I don't think his, I don't. I don't think I don't know if I knew your hair, sort of the if you get electrocuted kind of thing with your hair.
Yeah.
But my story about him was that he had stuck his finger in a socket,
Oh, really?
and he had a little Band-Aid on his pinky that
Were you a good mom? Did you take care of him?
No, no, see,
No?
this is the point. I
Mm.
I think I knew even from then that I was just not going to have the energy to have children. I have not
Not
had children.
not maternal in that way.
And I did not know, and I didn't play with dolls either. I was way tomboy. I didn't like dolls. So
Tomboy,
I,
a word that barely exists anymore, which I
yeah,
also
I know.
strongly identified with as well. Although I did wear dresses, I love dresses, but I played sports and I did not like baby dolls either. I felt like sort of some kind of pressure,
Yeah, yeah.
like you're a girl, you must like this
You
doll.
must like dolls. Yeah, and those
Why?
of us who didn't, it was like,
And
so
what
I'm
are you
like,
supposed to do with them? I mean, I
so
don't
boring.
know. I
That's
mean,
exactly what I,
I played with Barbies, so I know that's adjacent, but like they had like cars
yeah,
and things. Like
yeah,
baby dolls are just like you care for them? That's the
right.
game?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was parentified, so I was also just like, I'm busy taking care of me. I'm taking care of my mom.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
have time for these baby dolls.
I got a full slate. Well, that's sort of what the picture to me looks like. That's what sort of I think like a little bit creepy about it is you have them, but you seem like, "Ooh,
Not,
no." And
yeah.
that's like it's funny. It's a great
What
picture.
the thing that I did love actually was that somehow at some point I got bunk beds for those dolls, and I loved the bunk beds. Those were the coolest things. I was like, oh, these, I don't know, the furniture, whatever. It was small furniture, and I was very
Yeah.
small. I'm still small,
Hmm. But
but
you couldn't use it.
no, no, no. It was
You
just
would
kind of, I
you
was like,
wouldn't you rather have a bunk bed? Obviously, it's more expensive, but
yeah, yeah,
I
no,
I
I,
I wanted one. I wanted
yeah,
one.
yeah, no. I don't know if that was in my consciousness that I could have. I mean, I probably couldn't have one, but.
Right.
But the other funny thing in the picture is the Christmas tree. It is
Yes.
decorated with popcorn and cranberries strung.
Yeah.
And
That
that's
used to be a thing. For
it
real.
was a thing for
Yeah.
real. Yeah,
Yeah.
super cool. And we would do the construction paper, you know how you
Hmm.
do the rings with it. But part of
Hmm.
that is not having any money, and the other part of it is not having a lot of possessions, because if you have a lot of possessions, you can't move as easily.
Hmm.
So if you make stuff out of construction paper and, popcorn, you don't, it's disposable essentially. So,
Yes.
but, and
And did you
it's fun though. I mean, I got to make them with my mom. I'm sure we hung out and made them, but
yeah, I think there's some lines. So it's something I've been actually thinking about quite a bit. Like people who keep things, obviously, and there are hoarders, obviously, that's extreme. But people who put value in things and pass them on and what, and then people who just shed things,
yeah, yeah,
and I have definitely defaulted more to the shedding side of things,
yeah,
like where
me
I've
too.
had to be like, I don't need to throw this away.
Yeah,
I might
yeah,
still need it, you know?
yeah,
So what is that sort of, I don't know, I haven't found an answer, but it's just something I've just thought about. Like, why do some of us want to travel so light?
yeah. And others want to hold everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
No, I don't either, but
I
it's just
think we all
something that's
just come up with
interesting to me.
our strategies, and it's not always
Mhm.
logical. It's just, it's like I feel like we all have really, I mean, we all have issues of one kind or another, but how we
Sure,
deal with them can be completely different. And yeah, even
definitely.
if it's the same issue, we just choose the way, we choose our coping strategy, and it
Hmm.
doesn't always have a logical explanation. I definitely feel like mine is that I just grew up, needing to be like, not hold on to things, and so I tend not to, but I certainly hold on to, there are select things I hold on to,
Hmm. Yeah, I do as
probably because I
well, but
didn't have
it's
enough
just,
of it.
that sort of, I don't know, the gut, certainly in my family. I'm like, do we need this? Could you wear
Yeah,
this? Are we done with this? And they're just like, okay. Um, so you grew up in a kind of like a new age hippie. So was it kind of this hippie sort of transient lifestyle? Was that what
you know
is
it's interesting.
described or?
my mom she'll say, like that she's like a true hippie,
Yeah.
she's like the true hippies are the ones who, believe in peace and believe in mind drugs instead of body drugs like LSD and pot,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely peaceful and environmentalist and all that kind of stuff. But she wasn't, the transient thing. I mean, she that's a part of her personality where she just it wasn't like she hung out with a lot of
Mm-hmm.
hippies per se. um she just always wanted to go somewhere new, or I don't know. Yeah.
She pulled
And so
geographic, as they call in 12-step recovery. They call it pulling a geographic,
pulling a
where
geographic.
yeah,
Ooh, I
like
like that term.
they just feel like if they move away from their problems
Yeah.
won't follow them.
Yeah, and when I interviewed her for the first paper
Hmm.
I wrote. She had what sounded like really great reasons. Another job for her,
Hmm.
another school, a better school for me.
Hmm.
But the older I got, the more I was just like, yeah, she just. I mean, those were the excuses she used, essentially. Just to,
Right. But it was
yeah,
sort of rootless. It wasn't
yeah,
because of
and
following
she's
some
still
guru
that
or
way, by
some
the way.
philosophy. Just kind of
Yeah,
like the constant, yeah.
and just thinking that that next place is going to be the place
Hmm.
where everyone. Uh, Loves and supports her 100%, and she's wanted, and and like I said, she's still that way. She's still
Yeah.
she's old enough and still struggles enough financially that she's starting to say, I like it where I am. I'm like,
Mm.
I hope so, because I don't yeah, because I don't
It's
know how
like
to
the
get
really
anywhere
old guy
else.
who's always been a womanizer, and then when he hits a certain age, is like, actually, you know what? It's time to settle down. And you're like,
Yeah,
okay,
right.
well, took you long enough. Um,
It's
all
about
right.
damn time.
Yeah. It's funny that, or I don't know if it's funny. It's a bit ironic that sort of geographic, that movement that oftentimes we build community when we stay. But yet, when you have
Yes.
this kind of fantastical perspective, it feels like it's just out of reach and we just need to go one more place.
Yeah,
When in
to
fact,
find
it
out.
may just be setting down roots where we are.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah,
less
and
sexy, though. A lot less sexy.
a lot less sexy. I think I've been lucky. I moved to New Mexico and stayed there for 26 years.
Oh, wow.
And so talk about community. I mean, knew just about
Hmm.
everybody. It's not a huge city by any means.
Where in New
And
Mexico?
Albuquerque.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a nice
And
place.
it
It's like a
is.
very,
I
like,
grew
I
out
don't
of
know.
it,
It's just
but
easy. Yeah. Yeah.
super easy. Yeah, super friendly, super easy in some ways, challenging in others, um but yeah, and then like I said, I feel like I grew out of it though. There
Hmm.
were some things, like, so I'm in Minneapolis now,
That's a
and
change.
I did that on purpose. It
Hmm.
was fun. It was hard to not be like, geez, I don't want to be like my mom. Like, and I'm like, oh, seriously, you spent 26
Right.
years in
I
Albuquerque.
think you can
Give
give
yourself
yourself
a
a
break.
break.
But
You have to live here forever.
yeah,
Otherwise, yeah.
just to prove that I'm not her. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
not.
Hmm.
But yeah, I wanted, walkable, bikeable. My husband and I are super into
I love Minneapolis. It's
Minneapolis. Is
just
amazing. I love it
cold,
so hard.
but
Yeah, and
it's a
I
great
know you're
place.
not a huge fan of cold. I don't mind it. I like it.
I'm an okay fan, but it's
Okay.
just, yeah, the Midwestern winters were a little bit like, oh, it's still winter. It's
Intense.
April,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I like sun.
Yeah.
I
Thank
do
goodness
like it.
there actually is more sun here than I assumed there was. If it's not like LA or anything like that, but um,
Or Colorado or
there's
New Mexico, which are the places,
no,
that,
not at all. But you
that
know
kind
what?
of.
You know the funny thing? I love to be outside. Love to be
Yes.
outside. Crave
Yes.
it, need it.
Yeah.
And Albuquerque was great for that, unless I had something I was supposed to be doing, like finishing a memoir or meeting a deadline with an article. I used to write for magazines. And if the sun was out, I felt pressure to be out in it. Like, why am I
Hmm.
not in it? And it
Hmm.
was out all that time. So
Yeah.
here, I'm like, you know what? And two, I lied about how much energy I had in the past. I don't have as much energy as I pretended to have. Now that I can acknowledge that, I'm like, the weather is telling you, relax, like read, write, rest.
It's good
So,
to rest. I think this is a great wrap up. I was just talking about this with a friend. We don't give ourselves enough of an opportunity to rest. She brought it up actually, and I agreed with her. Snarp. But we don't, because we live in a very capitalist society, and
yeah,
capitalism does not encourage or support rest.
no,
But it's
it's heartbreaking
essential.
sometimes. Yeah,
Oh, it is. Because I have never been poor or lived in that. So it's only I have not had that experience, but I can imagine that you really can't rest. You feel like
yeah,
you can't rest or you won't survive.
right.
And that's what our society's built on, which is
Yeah.
incredibly problematic and toxic.
And there are a lot of people who could still survive if they did rested, and they don't, they
Oh, for
still
sure.
can't
For sure.
rest.
So many
People
people.
very close to me. Yeah.
um, yeah, I think uh, and if you want to frame it, which people need it, like it actually does help you write and create
Oh,
and do
so
like
much.
you can't
Walking,
just continue to grind, you need to give yourself breathing room in your life.
everything looks so different when you take a break and come back and look
Yeah,
at
yeah,
your writing or your life or
yes.
really anything.
When you feel
Wow.
like a piece of shit, when your writing seems like shit, when you need
Take
to
a
take a
break.
break.
Yeah.
It
Take a
is
walk,
so
take a break.
simple, but in
Yes.
fact, many of us push ourselves harder when we have those feelings, which is
Yes.
completely counterproductive.
Yep.
Um, so
Guilty.
now that we've saved the world's problem, solved, not
You're
saved.
welcome, world.
Anything else that you would like to share, Sonia? I'm so glad you were able to join me. Sonia is a Zoom friend, so it's always nice to,
Super cool to, yeah,
yeah, to not just be like, "Hi,
exactly.
I'm writing. Bye." Like,
Yeah.
actually have a conversation. So,
Yeah.
thank you for joining me.
Thank you. I love this kind of stuff. I love that you're doing this. I love all of this
It has
type
turned
of
out to
thing.
be such a thing that has legs and is continuing on. And
Yes.
I just started as a
Yes.
lark,
For good
and
reason.
I have it's been great for me.
I'm lucky to be a small part of it.
Oh,
It's
I'm so
awesome.
grateful for all of you. I mean, it wouldn't exist without all of you. And so it's just yeah, it's just I'm grateful.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for
Well,
joining me, and I'll see
my
you
pleasure.
soon.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.